possible thing. So that would be women. So it's very frequently the case for me that if I say anything about how young women might conduct themselves. So
What's up, YouTube? Today we're covering how age gaps in relationships are indeed healthy despite everything the feminist movement says. Let's get into it.
turn out less than dreadfully, let's say, that's when I get the most caustic and like vicious YouTube comments.
Is that real? No.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
the opposite for me.
Well, let's delve into that. Well, you're a female talking to females, and so that has something, because the comments that come my way are often variants of something like, "What's this old white guy doing, telling us what to do with our bodies?" It's like,
well, I meant more than that. When I talk about both genders, obviously, but when I talk about men and what I think they could do, that's when I get the most vitriol.
I see. Okay. So there's probably just a cross-sex thing going.
I'm sure there.
Okay, so you're 23. You're married.
22.
22. Sorry. Oh, I don't know why I thought you were 23. Now I'm making you older than you are. 22. You're married.
Yes.
You have a well-developed career.
Yes.
Okay, and I presume you're relatively pleased about both those things.
Very pleased.
Do you have plans for a family?
Yes.
How soon?
I would love it as soon as possible.
How are you going to manage it?
It's been a lot of what we've been working through right now. My mom is going to move to be near us.
Yeah.
Which I could not be more grateful for. And my husband truly turned his life upside down, turned his career upside down to make sure that he could be flexible for our family, so that he could balance when I am traveling or when he's traveling for work, then I can be at home. But he is running his own business now, which I think he had always wanted to do. And then when we started dating and got really serious, I think he realized, like, this is something I want to do for our family. I think it pushed him in that direction.
Okay, and so why did you decide to get married so young? I guess it's not, by historical standards, it's not necessarily
in
that
current
young.
standards.
How old is your husband?
He is 30.
Okay. So, all right. So you married someone who was, so the optimal gap between men and women for age cross-culturally is something approximating 4 years, right? So women prefer men who are older.
Yes.
This is something to keep in mind when you're looking at, I think, when you're looking at the political.
Yep, and let's face it, the reason why behind it and why they're happy right now, men and women are attracted to two different things. Women, long run, are attracted to security and stability. Men are attracted to beauty and fertility. So in an age gap relationship where the woman is younger, man is older, hey, both parties are getting exactly what they want. Hence, in this particular marriage right here, like the man, he's secure and stable enough to adjust his life a bit to help his wife and develop the family that they want. They do. That's one reason right there.
And young men and women. I don't think the right groups to compare are men and women of the same age. I think the right groups to compare are women who are 4 years younger than men and see where they're headed, right? Because, well, for the reasons I just laid out, the peers of young men aren't women their same age or older. Their peers are 4 years younger.
I completely.
And so my suspicions, and you're talking to, because you're on YouTube, you're talking to a lot of young men, but I think, first of all, where the men go, the women will follow. I think that's how things work fundamentally.
And I completely agree with that gap. And then I think ours made sense, being a little bigger because I, owned a home. I'm, already had graduated college. I had a successful, stable career. And so in terms of our stages of life, we were completely compatible and on the same page, as well as our values and where we were emotionally and the things that we wanted in the timeline that we want. But I chose to get married because I believe that it is the best foundation that I could have given my life. I think faith as well.
Why not single, free, sex in the city girl? No, I'm dead serious. Why not that? I mean, you had the opportunity, right?
Yeah. It sounds just awful.
Why?
It sounds lonely because I crave companionship.
Why not one person after another then?
What's the meaning in that? It doesn't, and that's not
Diversity.
fulfilling. I have no desire for it. I wanted to get married because
Do you think that there are women who have a desire for that?
I'm sure.
Well, are you? I'm not so sure.
Well,
like,
I
I'm not
think
so
that-
sure.
I think
You
that they
know,
tell themselves
yes,
that they do,
but-
but I don't think that intrinsically we're not wired for that. I mean, if you go back to, I was talking about this on my show recently, if we think of anthropologically, biologically, men are designed to be able to sow the seeds, to be able to go around, they can have as many children with as many women as possible. Women, you know, it takes 9 months to grow a baby. We have one egg every month. And it's like we protect that. And I think just from that very primal point of view, we are intrinsically designed to seek out one protector that can often.
I should offer a correction to that characterization of men. I think that's more radically true of immature men than it is radically true of immature women. And I think the reason for that is the reason you just outlined, which is because women pay a way higher price for
Yes.
sex, that even if they're immature, they're not going to be tilted as far in the direction of short-term mating strategy, let's say. I don't think that's intrinsic to the male nature. I really don't. I think it's intrinsic to the immature male nature. And here's part of the reason I think that. So I studied antisocial criminal behavior for a long time, like 15 years, a long time, especially in terms of its development across the lifespan. And so one of the correlates of delinquent, antisocial, and then criminal behavior for men is multiple early short-term sexual partners. Right. So it's associated specifically with the criminal bent. Okay,
Interesting.
well, but there's more to it too. So imagine that there are some men who are tilted more towards long-term relationships and stable responsibility, let's say, that goes along with that. And there are some men who are tilted more towards love them and leave them, short-term, you know, excitement, oat sowing, hedonism. Okay. Well, we know the personality characteristics. So the personality characteristics of the men who preferentially prefer one-night stands, they're dark tetrad types. They're narcissistic. It's all about them, even though they haven't done anything to deserve it. They're psychopathic, so that makes them predatory parasites. They're Machiavellian. They use their language and their actions to manipulate for short-term benefit, and they tilt towards sadism.
And this is another reason why, well, pretty big reason why, hey, age gap where a woman is younger, men is older, is a very good foundation for healthy relationships. Because I completely agree with what Jordan Peterson is saying to this woman on how, hey, I wouldn't be actually comparing relationships where men and women are the exact same age as healthy. I wouldn't. I would compare a woman who's a bit younger than the man as a healthy relationship, because this woman, she's actively practicing what she's preaching about wanting a real family. That's what she wants, because she's pursuing essentially the long-term goal. That's what she's actively trying to pursue right now. Where women who are of the same age as the man, who, just like Jordan Peterson says, will ride the carousel, just like that. Well, the pattern I see that ultimately backfires even now is that those women, they will ride the carousel with those very narcissistic men just for the thrill and the excitement of it. They will. And then when it comes down to the time where, hey, you're at the age where you either convince this stable man who was focused on long-term goals to marry you, you either create a family now or it's never going to happen. That's when these women will run to the stable man who focuses on long-term goals. But the very issue now that we're seeing talked about online everywhere, especially when we get closer to 2030, is those stable men who are very focused on long-term goals. They're now asking the question about passport bros, which is, hey, wait a minute. Why would I want to work so hard just to get something from you, madam, that you've already given away to these other men without that need? Why would I want to put a ring on your finger just to get something that you've already given to all these other men without the need of that ring? A good example from my life, where that I think a lot of you men can relate to, which is you see a single woman who has so many guy friends, like to the point where she literally has an entire harem of guy friends. She's acting very submissive around them, etc., etc. But at the same time, she never chooses to date any of them. She never does. In my case, there was a woman like that who it kind of escalated to where even her mom was trying to set me up with her daughter. That's the first time that's ever happened to me, by the way. And from my understanding, the reason why is because mom wanted her daughter to just leave the house. Because we're talking about a woman who has an entire harem of guy friends, but at the same time, not even a full-time engineering scholarship at a university was enough to convince her to move out of her parents' house. There it is. And eventually, well, let's face it, the men of those enormous number of guy friends that woman has, eventually they start to catch on. That whole submissive thing, that whole her demonstrating she wants family, it ends up being just an act. It is. She doesn't want family. She wants control. She wants control over men. She wants the power over men. That's the reason why she has an entire harem of male friends that she has zero to no intentions on dating. It's not about finding a partner. It's about having power. Having the power of force. Because let's face it, in order for rights to be reinforced, men, the majority, make up the dominant carriers of force. We are physically stronger when you look at bone density, muscle growth, mass, all that stuff. We are. So if a woman can can have an entire harem of male friends to act as her bodyguards, to do her bidding, there it is. That ends up being the reason. But vice versa, like I said before, you have a woman who's younger. She sees a man who has his stuff together, who has a lot of potential, and she says, oh yeah, I'm not going to friend zone that guy. I'm going to instead do everything in my power to convince that guy to want to be my husband. Guess what? That woman is actually practicing what she preaches about wanting a genuine family. She is. She's not willing to wait around. She wants to get working on developing that family with you, because that's her long-term goal. Anyways, that's all I got time for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. If this topic resonates with you guys, by all means, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment for more subjects like this.